read the room, and sort of figure out what is appropriate in the circumstance. Good morning and welcome to Conversations on YouTube with Phoebe and Rebecca.
Hello, I'm Phoebe.
And I'm Rebecca from HR Dynamics.
You're
Welcome.
spotting some pretty cool earrings there, Rebecca, just saying.
I'd just like to say these are a local buy from Onyx Poppy in Budrum on the Sunshine Coast. Big shout out to Michelle.
Excellent.
So, yes, but I've also sporting something else, which is my mascot for the year. So I found this in a shop yesterday. What is it, you might say? That I'm not really sure. It's a budgie wearing a crown with a gold beak.
Right.
And so I bought it because everyone needs a stuffed budgie with a crown. And I thought, you know what? If a budgie can wear a crown, we can too.
I'm just not going to comment on that. You need to clip it onto your shirt up on the side.
Put it up. Put it here, you think?
No, you know that teal colour is my very worst colour. I'm just going to breathe through that for you to have your crowned budgie.
My crowned budgie.
Yes.
I really have no idea. I can't imagine why they were in the throw out bin because I can't imagine.
Can't imagine why
this. So this is we can all wear crowns. That's our.
We can all wear crowns, right? Excellent.
So today I thought we'd discuss communication.
What did I say?
You went, oh, sounds boring.
Yeah, I did. But very important, Rebecca. Very important. Yeah, look, we go on and on about communication, I guess, because it is. We just have so many investigations and staffing issues, and a lot of it just comes down to poor communication, untimely communication, not thinking about what you say before you say it, foot and mouth disease.
See, I disagree. I'm not sure that it is foot and mouth disease. I think so many communication problems are people avoiding it.
Yeah, I would say that too, people avoiding it. But then when they do kindly say it, they just go blah.
And because they've avoided it for so long.
Yeah. We do a lot of communication in our own heads. Yeah, very unhelpful, where we have this conversation and we justify, why is that person annoying me? It's because
I think that's just you and I, Phoebe. I'm not sure that everyone else has those.
I would say that there would be a number of our listeners who have that internal dialogue of communication that goes on that's very unhelpful in their heads. But communication is really important, and I actually, there's not one size fits all. You've got to work out what your communication style is. So some people have a very direct communication style. Some people are a lot softer in their communication. And I think too, a really good leader, when you're really getting there, it's about being able to change your communication style to the person that you're wanting to communicate with. So if I know that and I even know that with my own team, with our own team, there's staff members that we've got some very driving A-type personalities in our team, and I'm best just to be really direct in my conversation with them. And we've got some other staff that are a lot softer and more amiable, and they could really see that as a bit of an attack if I just am too direct in my communication style. Would you agree?
Yes. My favorite communication style of yours, Phoebe, is when you say, I hate this. What exactly is it that you hate? Can we get a little bit more feedback? Because that wasn't that helpful.
I just don't like it. Sometimes I can't articulate it, but I don't like it. Well, you should know why I don't like that.
So, and I think it's the level of confidence you have with that person. You and I, obviously people always laugh that we're more like sisters, the way we sort of bicker and argue, and it's quite funny. Or mum and dad, or whoever. But we have a lot of confidence in each other and our basic relationship.
It's depth in the relationship, isn't it? So if you've got a strong roots to the relationship, you can move into a robust conversation quite quickly and know you can come out of it quite quickly. Whereas if you're working with new team members or people you don't know so well, you have to be really careful that you don't build barriers before you build connections in your communication. My big takeaway with communication, like we could talk all day about communication, but if there's one thing that I would like to really bring to people's mind with it, is to be really honest about what your communication style is like. Like, what are you good at? And what are you actually not so good at with communication? Do you say too much or do you say too little? Are you, because silence communicates as well. Do you let things go too long? Do you go too softly? Or are you a bit bitey in your communication? Do you not value other people's time by, pulling them into meetings and communication and doing things which can be frustrating for them? Or, if people need to talk to you and have time with you, are you not valuing that? Even though it may be a very small issue to you, it's quite a big issue to the staff member. So I think you really need to do a bit of a internal reflection to say, this is what I need to do. So if I did that to you, Beck, what would you say for you?
My reflection. I can let things go sometimes, definitely. And then it can all be sort of bottled up and then it can come out wrong, or I can avoid it. And I can like to fill silences with a lot of words. Not a great surprise to anyone there. What about you, Phoebe?
I can get snappy.
Really? I'd never noticed.
I hide it really well.
But I think overall, and I think the other thing with communicating with team, and when we do staff surveys, communication's always the thing that comes up. Doesn't matter, how well a company thinks they're communicating, because people, once again, are people. But it's that multi-layering too. I like to read things. I'd much prefer, whereas you pick up the phone, and it's just different styles, definitely. So,
I think it's a really good one. And and I noticed that my communication is worst. Is there such a word as worst? It's not at its best. When I'm tired, when I'm stressed, when I'm hungry, when I'm worried about something that's happening at home. So, my communication, I think I'm coping at work and I'm communicating well, but these other factors are really influencing. And I can become quite curt and, as I said, quite snappy, quite intolerant, condescending. Quite a list, haven't I?
Well, I did find, just because we're running out of time, so I did find some communication starters, because I think everyone is pretty good at knowing where they're doing well, where they're not doing so well. Like I think we're all pretty good at, being pretty harsh on ourselves. Probably what we're not so good at is how do we change that? Because it isn't always just easy, is it? So I have found my good old Instagram source of memes, which
source of all knowledge.
Source of all knowledge, Instagram. That's where we get it all from. Except for now, I can't move the bar. There we go. Communication and leadership. So I thought this was quite good. Shows you, gosh, my Instagram, doesn't it sound like a barrel of laughs, doesn't it? So simple language swaps for confident communication.
I say, does that make sense?
Can we go from the top, bottom, maybe? Very good.
Reading ahead.
So filter words like basically just like, and have some brief pauses. I think people are very afraid of silence. And that was actually one of the first things we were taught in our interview training back in the early days in Sheraton, is silence is okay. Sometimes silence is, people need to gather their thoughts. And I'm, one of the best at, Phoebe being very silent right now and me filling the silence.
I use silences a lot in performance reviews and performance management situations. And because I think sometimes a person needs time to think.
Yeah. So let me know if you have
Like
any
that.
questions. I don't know. And this is my favorite. I don't know. I'll find out. And I think that's a customer service one, you
Yes.
know. Just
I hate that. I don't know.
like it's okay to say I don't know, but I will find that out now for you.
Yeah, that is an interesting question. I will need to get some more information on it, or I will need to check with others. Or that is a good question. I think probably who you need to talk to about it is. So yeah, that I don't know is a real trigger. I can't do. Here's what I can do for you. Same sort of thing.
Yeah. I know this might be a stupid question, but I love that. Just ask the question.
Yeah,
Maybe we should try. Let's try. So taking that sort of, maybe
yeah.
it's okay.
Wishy washy.
Wishy-washy. Do you know what I mean? Do you need me to clarify anything?
I feel that I don't know that I agree with that one because I think, do you know what I mean, is more casual, more relaxed way that we would communicate. Whereas if I said to you, Beck, do you need me to clarify anything? I feel that's far more formal.
I wonder what I'd say.
You'd just laugh at me.
So, look, I thought that was an interesting one. A lot of them are, a lot of them are partnership. 5 things I ask, but this one's quite good. Um, Communication skills. No, it's about CVs. That one's not great. Ignore that. 5 steps to active listening: pay attention, ask questions, paraphrase, empathize. I got there. Summarize.
Yeah, that's a super important one. So, because sometimes people will go on and on and on until they think you can understand what they're saying. So, just because you paraphrase back to them, so what you're saying is you feel annoyed that blah blah blah, then at least they know you understand what their frustration is or their concern or they're trying to tell you, and that's a really important one for for complaint handling actually.
You just can't do it too often because I think we've all called Telstra. And when they just repeat it back to you in the call centers, that also tends to wind people
A
up.
bit
So you've
triggering.
got to
Yeah.
be super careful with that one because that is just like a trigger.
Yeah.
Yes, you don't need to paraphrase every sentence that's said.
No, fair point.
Key habits of highly effective communicators: active listening. I think we've discussed that. Open-ended questions, non-verbal awareness, empathy, clarity, constructive feedback, conflict resolution, and body language control. That's an interesting one if we can just touch on body language control. What are your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
I was just looking at that, the body language control and the non-verbal awareness as well. So as to what the difference is. Body language control. Yeah, I think, well, what do they say? It's 55% of how we communicate is through our body language. So it's just your posture that you've got, your gestures that you're using, if you're sort of towering over the person, if you look like a timid mouse. I think, making sure that if you're sitting down, that the seats are at an even sort of level, those types of things. They're subtleties, but they do make a big difference with the communication.
Top tips for communication. It's about the other person. You need to remain authentic to yourself and your communication style, but you also need to think about your audience. I guess something Leanne, our leadership coach, always says is read the room, and sort of figure out what is appropriate in the circumstance.
My top tip for communication is actually understanding how you communicate. So being very aware of, are you a very much a direct communicator and quite a sharp and quite snappy? Are you very passive in your communication? Do you prefer the other person to take the lead? Do you let things go because you want to avoid conflict with the communication and you prefer to have the positive conversations, not the hard conversations? Are you a person that uses too much silence, as in give people the cold shoulder, or you ignore them and you don't talk to them when you're feeling frustrated, and you think it's just best not to say anything because I'm just going to be frustrated, but you saying something is actually speaking in volumes. So I think we need to have real awareness as to what our weaknesses are and also what the strengths are for our communication as well. That's my top tip.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Go forth and conquer.
Yes.